What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode to talk about Transformers. This is going to be one of them surprise episodes. It's not something I just got, but I did talk to someone in one of my groups, and they were interested in buying the weapon for this guy. They ended up finding one, but I was going to shoot the video review for him while he still had his weapon, and since I had it all set up, I decided, here we go. Today, we're going to take a look at the Studio Series, I want to say 54, 2007 film Megatron, and here he is in his Cybertronian alt form, which I always thought looked pretty cool. This figure doesn't have the greatest representation of the alt form because it sacrifices quite a bit for the robot, but I'm okay with that because it's so Cybertronian. It's just gonna look like a weird mess regardless, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. Here's the weapon in question. I usually don't have them on the vehicles, but I did have it on there to show the guy that it was the right thing, and I just left it there. There is a peg right here in the knee area from the robot mode, and you can peg it in on either side. Here's the weapon. Take a look at it. It's his little chain hand thing, molded really well, not painted at all, kind of flexible just because it's so long and thin, so I would say don't do that. I would avoid that, honestly. There's his weapon. He doesn't really have any landing gear, so he's just gonna kind of weeble wobble until he finds a nice spot to sit. But yeah, his nose cone looks really good. These look really good, and then you run into the first issue right here, is that this is where his head should be, and instead of his head, it's just the back detail, which they got right for robot mode, so that's why it doesn't look right for this mode. So again, I'm okay with that. And then his back is got a giant gap in it. If they included his gun and they had found a way to store it in there, that would have solved that problem. So good job, Hasbro. Real good there. Yeah, so let's give him this dangly mace weapon that, you know, is totally, you know, important, not his fusion cannon. I know it doesn't stick on his arm or anything, but still. And it would have totally fixed this gap issue if they had just given him a gun. His feet are there, and his heels are there, and it's not awful. The worst part about it to me is just the gap and just kind of how blocky it looks back here, but it's the back of it. I can forgive it. The bottom is literally just his chest and his thighs and his hips and his fingers, but the wings look good. They're missing the little swoop that goes up that is on the masterpiece, which I unfortunately don't have, as I've previously stated, but they look good. The tail looks good, so overall it's not bad for what it is, considering the sacrifices they made for robot mode. I never had the original movie Voyager, but I did have the leader, and I can tell you that that didn't look as good as this does in either mode, and it was bigger, so I think that they did a admirable job. Yes, admiral job. That's definitely how to English. On to size comparisons. We've got our silvery shiny cube that Megatron would like because it's the Allspark. You know what would be cool? If I got a cube like this, painted up like the Allspark. That would be a good gift, I think. If you could get someone to custom that, then they could mix it all up. Gormagala. So, the standard vehicle comparison to the Masterpiece movie Bug, and then something I dredged up from the same movie. We've got Starscream from the Studio Series, and all these guys will be getting reviews at some point. just sprinkled in. I'm basically working on Siege and Kingdom and Earthrise first because they're more recent than a lot of this stuff. But I might sprinkle in some of the more recent waves that I have a studio series like I did Sideways. So we'll go ahead and do a Jolt sometime soon, probably. That's about it for size comparison, so we'll go ahead and get into transformation. Transformation on this guy is pretty easy going to robot mode, but getting everything lined up back here for jet mode can be kind of a pain. Normally one of his heels or both of his heels are popping off, but he looks pretty good right now. So, and another complaint I have about that is that his arms don't really peg in anywhere. So you can move his elbows and rotate his bicep swivel and just kind of do whatever you want. Sometimes I literally just rotate them in until they look kind of even, and then just have him doing that, and that doesn't look bad either. I'm going to start off on the wings here. You're going to unpeg this gray, well, it's all gray and silver. This specific color of gray that is dark gray but not gunmetal, unclip it. You're going to rotate it back and then fold the gunmetal gray part it's attached to in on itself and collapse it all down like so. You're going to fold this wingtip in, and then you've got a double hinge system here, and it just, you can see the seam lines, but that's really flush too. So normally you'd have just this ugly hinge there, so that's kind of nice. And just fold it all in. Same thing on the other side, just untab, pull it out, rotate it, flip it, and then use that double hinge to make a nice little wing package. And then, if you can see in here, there's just a little tab, and this fixture is kind of just hooked over it. You're going to unhook that and rotate the wing around, and there's going to be a tab on this part of the vehicle mode, aka the robot leg, and you're just going to swing it around and hook the same hook onto that tab. So you're basically just pulling a 180 and switching where it's hooked. So there, we got the other doing the same thing. Now that you've done that, the fin only really fits together when the legs are in this position, so if you don't unpeg it, it's going to do it to itself. So unpeg the legs from each other, pop the heels off the top. There's a tab, there's a slot in the bottom of the heel, or the top of the heel I should say, and then just rotate his legs 90 degrees. And then there's another cleverly flushly implemented double hinge. I like to rotate the wing up on the outer hinge first and then rotate the whole fixture in, and it doesn't click into place, but it will go past this lip here, and you don't want it to stop on it. You want to make sure that you get it all the way in there, and using those double hinges to your benefit will help. And then on his wings there is a tab here for hooking them together, but on the outside there's a tab on the very top of it, and it's going to go into this notch right here in his leg. So we'll switch that around and we'll plug it in, and then you can just straighten his foot out, straighten his knee out, and you've got one leg all done. So we'll go ahead and do that to the other leg. We'll fold his wing all up, get it massaged in there, swing this around, plug it in very securely, I might add. I don't know, I can't remember if some of the reviewers had these not wanting to plug in securely, but that's why you got to make sure that that is seated in there. That's what's going to make it plug in securely. One thing about this guy is that his heels don't lock in at the optimal position, so he'll be leaning back unless you actually pop his heels up. So you'll see that throughout the review probably, and I apologize. Now his arms, there's slots here in his back and tabs on his arms. They don't stay together that well. They're more, after you get everything lined up, they're more just kind of a place to put the arms, because they don't want to stay in there. So we're just going to pop the arms out and fold this whole fixture up for now on this hinge. so that we can get to this stuff. Now his head's kind of tricky because his head is above these panels, and then his neck collarbone area is below the panels the arms are sitting on. So some people have had issues with this, getting it in and out, and there isn't really a great way to do it. I think what I discovered was just rotating his head around and then just pushing it through, because there's a hinge here and then there's a hinge at the base of the strut that's holding his head with the ball joint. And if you just kind of angle his arms slightly and pull that through, that's the best way to do it for me. Then rotate his head back around. You could probably leave it this way, but it does make it a little more difficult to see what's going on the camera, so I turned it around. So yeah, just pull it forward while raising everything. Pop these out, and then for this part you're going to take his nose cone and you're going to rotate it. There's a tab and a slot, more like a clip really, and that's going to happen here and here as well with these tabbing clips. Rotate it until it's compact, then get it inside the torso, and the part that it clipped into originally up here, this has an angled molded bit so that you can tell when you've got the nose cone pushed up against it. And then you've got a tab here and a tab here, 2 slots. Collapse it, tab it in, just make sure everything is sitting where it should. Give me 1 second. I don't think I have his stuff quite right. I don't remember his nose cone sticking so far out, but I could just be it's been a while since I transformed this guy. Okay, well, his nose cone is there, and then we'll raise the camera up because he's getting tall. For his shoulder assembly, there's a little tab here. There's a notch in this rotating panel right there, and it's just going to rotate up and clip onto it. Same thing on the other side. Rotate, clip, and we'll just fold his hands out. And he's done. There is Megatron in his robot mode. His heels collapsed. They're going to do that. Lower it down slightly. Back him up. Alrighty. So there he is in robot mode. It looks pretty good. I was happy with it. The biggest issue with this figure by far is that they didn't make a new chest component for him. This is the same chest as the Revenge of the Fallen tank Megatron, and they were not the same looking in the movies, so they needed to remold this, and they didn't. They remolded almost all the rest of it, and then they got lazy on the chest. Go ahead and take a look at the details. So there's his head. He's got kind of a disgusted, shocked look, which is pretty accurate to what he'd be feeling on Earth. I don't know if the camera's picked there. That's a good shot of it, at least from what I can see on my screen. You can see that his eyes are painted red. So they are picked out in red. It's not a bright, vibrant red, and you got to get the light in there and really pay attention to see it, but his eyes are painted red. A lot of this guy is painted silver, and then what's not painted is molded in like gunmetal. So it's monochromatic, but accurate. As far as a movie Megatron goes, where it's just a lot of gray and silver. Hips are unpainted, unfortunately. No paint on them at all, which kind of jars it. Same thing going on with the fingers, but it's kind of forgivable because throughout he almost looks, I know that a couple people have said it about a few figures, but it looks like he's got an exoskeleton that's this, or an endoskeleton that's this color with exoskeletal bits and silver around it, because the inside of his legs are that color from the, the interior of the wings and things like that. His knees have the little spiky kneecaps. I played it way after I got this figure, But now that I've played the game, these kneecap spikes really remind me of Crystal Peak and Hollow Knight. If anyone's ever played Hollow Knight, if you haven't and you like Metroidvania style games, go ahead and check out Hollow Knight. The feet look pretty good. His legs are a little bulky in the back. Little square. I feel like if someone took this figure and just refined this area and then made something in here flip around to look like the proper head cockpit, or just kind of redesigned it so his head was in this area, that it could almost be better than the actual movie masterpiece, because it cleans up so well, except right here gets a little bulky. But going up the back, it's like the perfect backpack for him, because this is what it looked like. The masterpiece tried to do it, and it kind of got the shape right, but it was way too stuck out, and I'm not complaining. They put all the wings somewhere, and the legs look really good on that, but these legs aren't much worse to me, and the back is way better, so I like the trade-off here. And then he's just got a bunch of spiky details and paint going down his arms. To implement his weapon, we'll go ahead, zoom back out. To implement his weapon, fold up his hand. Either hand will do this, and then there's a gap created, and there's the circular rounded area where the rotation is, and this little jutting out piece of plastic is just going to shove in there, and then he's got his mace weapon. It's totally impractical, way too long. You're never going to display him with this on a shelf unless you're like just got him and Prime on like a single area and he's like bashing something with it, or you manage to build a Lego diorama of that whole building and you're having him destroy the rooftop and Sam falling. I don't really see anyone using this ever. Why no gun? Could have been a gun. And then there isn't really anywhere to plug it in to store it on him, unless you want to do this with it. We'll raise his arm up, try and plug it into his leg there. That's stored. Kek. Alright, but we'll put him back here, lower the camera a bit, and we'll do some size comparisons. First of all, his Allspark is very G1 Allspark because it lacks greebles and detail. We've got our Gormagala. We've got our Bumblebee. He's actually a very large Voyager height-wise, because he is bigger than the Bumblebee. And my last Voyager review, Primal, was shorter than the Bumblebee, so yeah, he's quite a sizable Voyager, which might be why they didn't have plastic for the gun, but considering they got cheap and lazy and reused this chest, I would have liked to have seen a gun. Even I could care less if it's painted, as long as they fit it in the gap in the jet mode and made it plug into his hand, I would have been happy. So there he is, and then I'm going to leave him in there just so you can see just kind of a range of Voyager size things, because the next comparison is going to be Optimus Prime based on that movie. And Optimus is, again, slightly shorter than the Bumblebee. Megatron is way bigger. And we'll take him out of here. I'm bumping my camera, being hasty, and we'll just put these two together. His hand rotated when I transformed him. And there you've got Optimus and Megatron. And I like that scale right there. Not personally. I am in agreement with a lot of reviewers that they should almost basically be eye to eye. But as far as them in the movie, 28 feet and 35 feet, I feel like this is pretty good representation of that scale. Optimus is the top of his head should just be coming up to about the base of Megatron's neck area, and he's a little hunched over, but it still pretty much works. And then for a final comparison, I have this guy out because I'm going to do a Dragoon Skybreaker comparison, and this is the only other The Last Night Megatron I have, but here he is with The Last Night Megatron, and he's 30 feet, and here's Optimus at 28 feet, so they could literally just release this guy in the Studio Series line and maybe give him a different head sculpt, because this head sculpt is fine, but unless they made it transforming, I would prefer the closed battle helmet, especially since we did get a sword with him, which I didn't bring out because when I compare Dragoon and that, I'm just going to do the cannons, and since his is molded on, that's fine. There, it's totally stored away. It folded in. It's not just hanging out on his arm. But there you have it, everyone. Studio Series 07 movie Megatron. I was really skeptical about this figure when I saw the images because of the legs and everything, and then I saw reviews and I realized what they sacrificed and how it really did look nice despite the chest, and it's grown on me a lot from my original opinion of it. So would I recommend it if you don't have it? If you can find it at a reasonable price, definitely. If it's double the price because scalpers be scalpers, don't get it. They're doing that stupid premium paint job line, and they might put him in it somewhere down the line with some gold accents or something like that. So pay a reasonable price. He's $30. I'd say no more than $40, not counting shipping or anything like that, would be a good price to pay for this guy if you really wanted him. But if it's over $40, don't do it. Anyway, that's about it for this. I'm gonna film this and the Dragoon comparison in the same day, so as soon as this wraps up, I'll be filming that. I have no clue which order they're gonna come out in. I just know one's coming out. This is Tuesday morning, Tuesday after Tracks came out. I've already filmed Primal for Friday, and I don't know if this is gonna come out or the Dragoon video is gonna come out first, but one of them's coming out, and then the other one will be out next week. I'll see you next time. No, I won't see you next time. I'll see you this time. Why do I always do this to myself? Articulation. I even just posed him a little bit. He's got a full 360 on his head, but the tip of the jet can get in the way on this side specifically, but you can rotate it around. And like I said, his neck is on a ball joint, on a stick, on a hinge that is used for transformation. So you can use that to full effect to do whatever you want with him, full up, full down. He can kind of do a head tilt. If you rotate his chin, he does look like a very confused Megatron. His arms go full 360. That one's a little loose. It's not super loose, but it feels very easy to move. Rotates out 90 degrees. Full rotation at the bicep, and the rotation is where this silver painted part meets this gunmetal gray part, so it's about the middle. A little over 90 degree bend at the elbow, maybe. Well, it looks pretty 90 degrees here. He's just got really wonky proportions. Wrist can angle in for transformation, but you can use that if you want. No waist articulation. You've got the full forward. You've got the full backward. You've got out a little over 45 degrees, I'd say. Thigh swivel, full 360. You can tell where that's happening at because the top of it's not painted. Over 90 degree bend at the knees. That's really good. It almost reminds me of Primal's elbows, where the hinge is just here on the back part, so you can get maximum movement. Does it look the prettiest? No. Does it function well? Yes. Then the heels and the toes move separately for transformation. You get a little upward on the toes, a lot downward. You can get farther up than I would like on the heel, because while it'll help you do this, it doesn't really lock that well. You can feel it resisting and then just push past, And so this is where you want it, and it's constantly doing this. So he's like drooping backwards in a reverse Michael Jackson lean, smooth criminal lean. That's it. And then you've got pretty good ankle tilt. Like, that's almost all the way. That's more than you're going to need for most poses, especially on the Megatron. He basically just lives to stand menacingly. I think one time on the shelf, I had his arms up like he was telling his minions to go forth and attack. But there he is. There. Now we're done. Now that I almost forgot posability, people have said, make checklist. I'm just like, I don't know where I would put checklist, so I just have to rely on my brain. And maybe I'm doing this too early in the morning, because I get up, I get my son on the bus, and then I come in and film, so maybe I should wake my brain up doing some puzzles or something first. Solve a Rubik's Cube or two. Anyway, that's the video review for Studio Series 54 2007 movie Megatron. And it's coming out at some point, and so whatever's next is whatever's next, and I'll see you then.